What's going on, guys? We're back with part 16, and we're going to go ahead and finish off where we left off. One thing I forgot in the last video is we need to attach a rigid body to our beam shot, our projectile. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put in a required component so I don't forget next time. Rigid body. And I can't remember if last time we talked about collision we ran into this, but in order to use our on collision enter method, we need to have a rigid body attached to it. And I'm going to turn off gravity just because I don't think a beam of energy would use gravity. So let's go ahead and run this now. Let me make sure this works first. Let's wait for an enemy to spawn. Oh, okay. And we shoot, and that happens. So that's the way we want it to. You're noticing we're getting, hey, it worked for our override. So our on collision override is working. And here we can do stuff like, spawn in this explosion, or things along that line. But for now, we're just gonna leave it blank. And next thing I wanted to do is make it so we can aim towards the mouse. So, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, because if we're moving left, we want the fire transform to be on the left. If we're moving right, we want the fire transform on the right. And then whether our mouse is up or down will depend on where it's aiming. So let's go ahead and start with switching our the rotation of our player depending on which direction we're going. So we're going to go ahead and move back into our platformer motion script, and we're going to go ahead and make a new private bool is facing right, and we'll default that to true. Okay. Now what we want to do is down here, just before we do our move, we're going to go ahead and do calculate facing. Oops. And we can go ahead and generate a new method for that. And in here we'll go if direction dot x is greater than 0, which means if it's positive, or if we are moving to the right, we'll do if not is facing right. First we're going to set is facing right to true, and we want to flip the character. We will do flip player. And we'll do up here else, which means if the direction x is not greater than 0. Now one thing you want to keep in mind is these are tricky, because this will return true if direction x is greater than 0, and false if it is 0 or less. So if it is 0, meaning we're not moving left or right, it'll still do this else, and we don't want that. We only want if we're moving to the left. So we'll do else if direction dot x is less than 0, and we'll do if is facing right. So if we're facing right and we're moving left, we're going to set is facing right to false, and then flip the player. Oops. So you're probably thinking, why are we flipping the player every time we're switching every frame if our direction is greater than or less than 0? And we're not. That's what we're saying. If our direction is greater than 0, which is if we're moving right, and our last known facing is to the left, which means we switch direction this frame. So it's only calling this on the one frame we change direction. Because right after we check if this is facing is false, we set it to true. So it only does it this flip player this one time, then it'll go back in here, oh, it's false now, it'll skip over that, and it'll keep running this until we change the direction. So let's go ahead and actually flip the player. We'll go ahead and we'll do transform dot rotation, oops, not root, rotation dot Euler angle, or we'll do set Euler angles probably. Let's see here. And we'll do new vector 3. Oh, not vector 2, vector 3. We'll do, scratch that. Just to keep this clean, we'll do Euler. Okay, and then up here we'll go ahead and set Euler. So we'll do vector 3 Euler equals new vector 3. Oh my goodness, my typing is it's interesting today. Equals new vector 3, and we will go ahead and plug in our transform dot rotation dot Euler angles dot x dot y and our dot z. Okay. Deprecated. Okay. It's saying this is an older method, so we can go ahead and change it now. Equals quaternion dot Euler. What would I just change to is basically the same thing. It's just every so often Unity's API is updated, and this is a more up-to-date method, probably more efficient or faster or something along those lines. Now what this will do is you'll just take in our rotation, convert it to Euler angles, and then update our rotation. But we want to actually flip the player. So let me go ahead and make sure which axis it is. I think it was like the x-axis, but I could be wrong. I was wrong. It is the y-axis. Okay. So we need to flip the y-axis plus 180 degrees. Now, you're probably wondering what is a Euler, what is a quaternion, and you're probably thinking quaternion was those numbers that were rotation, and that's not actually true. Those numbers you see are called Euler angles. The ones that we're used to, where it's our x, y, and z rotation, those are Euler angles. What a quaternion is, it's a little bit different. It's more like it has a x, y, z's, and r. Or let me make sure what letters they were. Quaternion q equals new. Whoops. Quaternion. It was an x, y, z, and w, not an r. And so it's a little bit different from the Euler angles. However, Euler angles are a lot more easy to work with, so that's why we're using them now. So what we're doing is when we flip the player, we make a new vector 3, put in our x Euler, our y Euler plus 180, so it's basically flipping it, and then our z angle, and then plug that into our rotation. And we'll go ahead and we'll do print. Whoops. Oh my goodness. Apologize for that. We'll print flip. We'll go ahead in here. Flip, 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 flip. And if we go in our scene view, you'll notice we flipped it because our fire position is now on the left side. If I click on over here, it'll now move in this direction. It can move in this direction now. However, I still want it so it'll aim towards where our mouse is. So if we go on and later on we make levels where there's actually jumping involved to get up to a higher platform, and there's you actually have to traverse the level, then we can aim. So just for the sake of keeping this tutorial short, I feel like I'm only getting a small part done in each tutorial, but that's fine. I'd rather have more videos than super long ones. So next video we will go ahead and see if we can get aiming working.